Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So happy to see so many of you here. We're working on our topic for the month, which is on resilience. Happy to have our team from Calm here, Rachel and Macarena behind the scenes, going through, I think, stuff we already know, but that we need some reminders about. And so practicing some tools, having some time, a moment to step back and just really reflect on what does this look like in our life and how can we be a little bit more intentional to foster more communication and resilience in our life. I'm Emily with your EASE program. I'd like to just share a little screen for a second just to remind you of your EASE benefits. We're going to be covering resilience this month. Thanks for being here. EASE is a part of your benefits package. Services are free and confidential, and employees and family members get access to mental health support, 24/7 counseling hotline, and counseling sessions, between 3 to 5 counseling sessions for self and family members. These are the supports that we offer, specialized workshops like the one we're providing today. We cover every district in Los Angeles County right now, and in addition to our Head Start and Early Learning delegate agencies, as well as 5 community colleges in Los Angeles. Here's our QR code. If you have any questions about EASE, if you're just interested in services, want to find out how it works, or ready to get some support for yourself or family, feel free to reach out to us here in the office. You can dial number 1 for EASE, our EASE office. If you're ready to speak with the counselor and to sign up and make an appointment, you can dial 2 and you'll be connected with a counselor. With that, I'm going to transfer the virtual mic, over to Rachel for our presentation today. Thank you all for being here and hope you enjoy the session.
Yeah, wonderful. So I think that we all recognize, as Emily alluded to, we're all resilient, right? We all have these opportunities and spaces where resilience is something we have to practice. So today is really just a boost to give you that reminder of how resilient you are. And in those moments when resilience feels challenged, what you can turn towards is maybe things you may have forgotten you can do, or things that you might want to consider evolving or trying. So a lot of that happening in today's session. So again, my name is Rachel. I'm one of the health and wellness advisors at Calm. I am joined by my amazing host and friend, Macarena. She is in the chat space. So we are both here to support you today with this conversation. And speaking of conversations, that's exactly what I would love for it to be for us today. So the idea is that I am here to speak with you. So giving you that opportunity to weave your voice in through Vivox. You scan this cute little QR code next to my head, and it brings you into our anonymous polling software. So that's our goal today, is to make sure you can be in the space with us. Macarena will also share a link so you can participate via the browser, but choice is up to you. But I would love to hear from you to make sure I'm giving you good insights and information that's best for you. Also, we have the ability to highlight that we have most of what I'll talk about today also in my browser space. So if you go to calm.com, you have the ability to see a lot of our different tools and resources I'll mention there. So we're always releasing new content in the Calm space. So giving you that opportunity just to step into calm.com, beautiful browser space. Almost everything in the browser is also in the app. So just knowing that you have that resource there available to you post session as well. And then I'll gift you this, our resource guide. We bring these to all of our sessions, but it's very much the idea of that. I want to start the conversation today. I want you to put pen to paper, or rather fingertips to keyboard, and just type in some of your thoughts and responses, giving you that space to really just think and clarify some things coming up for you. All right. So it's a little bit of where we'll start today, what's going on in the session. As people come into the session with us, I want to give them some space just to context switch. So we're going to do this in the calm fashion through a quick, just short little breath bubble here. So a few moments just to settle in, let any last minute have tos or need tos be done, and then we'll dig into our session. All right, let's take a moment just to breathe. right, so that was about 30 seconds. If you're saying to yourself, oh, I could use about 30 more, we have a whole YouTube channel actually full of breath bubbles and breathing exercises. So make sure you check that out also if that's something you're feeling called towards today. So my first poll is open. Let's get into this conversation. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 5, how resilient are you currently feeling right now? What are you noticing for yourself? So just taking a little snapshot of how life is going right now as we dip into June. How are you feeling? What's going on? It's been probably a busy close to the year, but for some of us, we think we have a summer vacation, but you really don't. You're right into planning for next year. So let's be honest about it. How is our resilience feeling? What are we operating from today? So for some of us, we're in that one range, honoring and understanding my resilience feels pretty low. I'm feeling pretty tested right now. So giving yourself that awareness. What can we move towards? How can we hold some space for ourselves? Maybe that's self-care, maybe that's time, critical conversations. We'll look at all of that today. Others of us somewhere in that 3 range, feeling somewhere in the middle. So we're having some semblance of resilience, but still feeling that touch of a little bit more balance or support there. I see some of us coming up into the channel as well, making sure, yes, if for some reason Maka just pointed out, Zoom did this really cool update. So when I share my screen now, if you can't see my screen, you might have to click that tab that says my name at the top so you can see these polls. So thank you, Maka, for reminding me. All right, so a couple more of us feeling we're in that 4 space. So a good understanding of what resilience feels like, a little bit more of a foundation around it, but still some opportunity to boost it a little bit too. So it's really what our session is about. I'm not expecting or wanting anybody to be a certain number. I just want to give you a space of reflection to see where you feel you're at. And then we'll talk about how we can maybe, again, support that in different ways that feel realistic for you. Having that semblance of things, some things may be working for you advantageously, and some things might need to evolve or be maybe moved away from or no longer aligned with. So giving you that space just to clarify that for yourself today. So great to see about 10 of you on the polls. I know there's about 25 of you here, so I'm going to push a little bit harder. I want to hear from more of you in the next polls, but great start to the session. And I appreciate your participation and just your time as well. So here we go. A little bit of what to expect from me today. Let's move in. Let's explore the power of resilience. You as a functioning human being, when your sense of resilience is strong, you feel more empowered to move into a space to authentically be yourself, to have that semblance of, again, how you're nourishing self, how you're showing up, how you're feeling and operating, maybe even most alignment with your values as you can. So we'll really dig into how we can make that possible on a more consistent basis. We'll also look at the lens you're operating from. How are you viewing life? Are you viewing life as something that's happening to you? Or are you thinking of life as something that's happening through you? No wrong or right there, but it definitely impacts the level of resilience that you feel. And we'll talk about that mindset too. Is it growth or is it fixed? Are you feeling again like your traits, this is who I am, it's the best I can be? Or is there opportunity and choice and space for learning and growth? We'll look at that to see how that's coming up too. And then lastly, we'll develop tools to strengthen your resilience. We'll talk about some of the ways that you might look at that post session, even in your workspaces, as something to think about as well. So for us today, I want you to just take a moment and to think of resilience as something that you get the opportunity to build every day. And the reason for this is because we live a little bit in a wild time right now. We're needing to make decisions quickly. We're constantly exposed to stressors. There's obligations, there's responsibilities, needs, wants surrounding us. So every day we kind of get this training space to work with building resilience through all the different types of stressors and adversities that come our way. Some of them within our control and some of them not. We'll look at that aspect of that today too. But for today's definition of resilience, I want to give you that space really to think of it as something that you are constantly evolving with. And the idea is that evolution is through accepting, adapting, and moving forward. So when you're accepting, it's reframing those life challenges, seeing them more as, again, those learning opportunities. When we're adapting, it's using that adversity as a pathway to become maybe a little bit stronger through the practice of whatever it is you choose to strengthen your resilience in that moment. And then lastly, the moving forward piece, using that as a building block or tool to support you with more vigor and pride. Something may not be working out in that moment, or we may not like it, or we can't control it, whatever it is, but how can we move forward through it? Not letting me something that keeps us stuck in rumination, but a space actually to persevere forward. So with that understanding, that accepting, that adapting and moving forward, on my next poll, I just want to pose the question, how might that support you? What component of that, of the adapting, the accepting and moving forward, what impact might that have on your life? Building that up, bolstering it, amplifying, whatever word you want to use there. What would the impact be if you were to make this more readily available consistently? Remembering a few moments ago, I asked you where you are on that scale 1 to 5 with your resilience. So if you're at a 1, how would this support you to accept, adapt, and move forward? If you're the 3 or the 4 or the 5, whatever number, what is part of your why of being in this session today? Really being kind of orchestrated and brought to surface here. So for someone, I love this first insight coming through strong. Anxiety, yeah, the ongoing anxiety. I want to lessen that. I want to make sure that I'm having that space to manage my stress differently or better, evolving the way that stressors come into my life and I respond or react to them. Absolutely. So the before, during, and after, right? Those spaces and places for that. I won't get stuff in grief. Yeah, grief is something, it's a part of being human. The grieving process is very nuanced and individualized for each of us. So, how can we support ourselves, hold space for ourselves with grace as we're going through that to support our resilience, knowing that grief sometimes comes in different seasons of life from different things. So, having that space here today, too. Noticing my triggers easier. Yeah, we are going to be triggered. There's nothing wrong with being triggered. It's just how to respond to it to create those outcomes that actually serve us. Let's look at that too. I love this. You learn what you're capable of handling. Absolutely. So, amplifying the sense of resilience gives the ability to say, you know what? Look how strong I am. Look how I persevere or I handle things. Those things that I don't like, those things that I do like, the things that I can't control. Absolutely. Seeing who we are when those moments come and call us to that space. And help to remember that it's adversity only temporary, right? So those temporary moments, I can move through this. I like to think of that. I summarize it as I didn't have a bad day. I just had a bad moment in the day. So not letting one moment or space, one person or interaction, message, whatever it is, take my whole day down in the space, just letting that be a moment that I had to go through and work with. Anyone else? Yeah, more positivity amplified. Absolutely. The challenges and difficult things take away from what is good or going right. So finding that space, yeah, keeping that positive momentum forward, not finding that there, yeah. The lightness feeling, yeah, when things get heavy or they feel they're taking us downtrodden, whatever it happens to be, that lightness that we can evoke and find in ourselves. Wonderful. So some great insights and thoughts coming through here. Let's keep that momentum going with that understanding. And there may be more that comes to surface as we're moving through, but this is a great place just to segue into understanding that you are resilient. You have that ability to be resilient and you've had to practice at some point in your life. So I want to start from a place of strength and uncovering those tools that you naturally already embody when it comes to your resilience. So on page 5 of our resource guide, if you haven't snagged that link yet, Macarena will share it in the chat for you again. On page 5, I want you to take an opportunity, your first activity, and I want you to bring to surface a moment when you were resilient. Remember that. Remember how you felt, what happened, what was going on. So on page 5, just write down the following. Remember that moment, pull that to surface first, and then start to uncover and reflect upon how you handled the situation. What were those actions that you chose? And then lastly, I invite you to share the outcome. A few moments here to write this down, a moment you were resilient and proud of, how you handled it, what your actions were, and lastly, the outcome. A few moments here. A few more moments here to reflect, and then I'll call you back to the polling space. I'd love to know what some of your resilient tendencies, actions, or tools are already. What are those things that you naturally already embody or that were passed down to you, or just innate abilities that you have? And giving you an opportunity or next poll just to share what some of those are. So I see someone already recognized, you know what? When I think back to that situation, it wasn't as bad as I anticipated. So seeing again that frame of reference, the narrative or the thought patterns that we're building around something, I actually was building it up and I was able to get through this. So taking that challenge, taking that again, that space where maybe failure was possible, and we were able to get through that moment in space, persevering forward, never giving up. So having that mindset, that belief pattern, that affirmation strong at hand, another resilient quality. Perseverance coming up here for a few of us. The quality is also of hope. Yeah, leaning into hope. I don't know what is ahead of me, but I'm going to hope and just live in that space of keeping that focus, that energy, that positive mindset there, whatever it is to support me with that. Yeah, gratitude on the daily. Absolutely. So, the way that gratitude frames the lens that we operate from can definitely help us in those moments to help keep us going. Anyone else, what comes up for you when someone says to you, you are resilient because you do this, or you think this, or you believe this? Asking again, we have Edith and Teresa. What else? Who else in the space? Cindy, Laura, Ray, Laura, another Laura, Georgie, Denise, the few on my screen. You're your most resilient self. What are those qualities that someone might identify with you or by you? It's a difficult time, but I had my moments of joy. Yeah. So finding that space to find and dig into the joy, find that silver lining per se that comes through. The time to recover. Yeah, giving myself permission to rest. Absolutely. So that resilience puzzle piece is there in the form of self care and also preservation and making sure that I am honoring the bandwidth, energy, and time I'm able to give. Also, giving that to ourselves. Wonderful. So great to see the different ways already that we honor resilience and those qualities that are natural to us. I want to take some of these and see if I can bolster them a touch more by giving you some other things to tag on to them. Because resilience, again, the different situations we walk into, the things that are requested of us or for us or towards us, sometimes do come up and we have to find that peace and way. So these are great qualities to start with. Let's keep those foundationally strong and let's see what we can add. So I want to give us some time now. Let's talk about accepting that first part of that definition of resilience we're working with today. Now, when we're working to reframe life challenges and make them more of a learning opportunity for us, we're going to get the space to do that with something right now that you feel is challenging your resilience. So let's bring to life a real life scenario, page 6 of your resource guide. You're going to get that space to workshop it live with me today. And whatever it is, I want you to write it down. Now, I will say this to be kind to your mind and your emotional field. Maybe we don't make it something that's a level 10. Let's keep it kindly somewhere maybe in that 5 or below, just so that again, we have a whole bunch of things we probably have to do later in the day. I want to keep your emotional field a little bit more level set today. So if you feel like, hey, I want to go level 10, this is making me angry, I want to work with it, then you can. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but just something again to think about. You have things to do after the session. So be kind to your mind. Let's keep it around a level 5 if we can. All right, so let's dig in. Let's go. When you're thinking of an area or space in your life right now, where is a situation that you're finding being resilient is difficult? What is the situation? What is your current coping strategy? And what feelings are you left with? A few moments here to write this down, page 6 of your resource guide. A few more moments here. All right. So I want you to step a moment, just take a little bit of a space further. And I really want to bring to surface when you think of the situation, you notice the things that come up for you. I want you to take now and share what the emotions are. This thing test your resilience, past, present, or future, whatever it happens to be. You have those coping strategies that you notice, those behavior patterns that you may turn towards automatically that cause you some self of comfort or give you that space of release. But also, what are the emotions that you're left with? What do you notice in low moments of resilience? What are your emotional things that come up for you? So for some of us, I'm seeing here regret, other avoidance, the sassiness, the anger, the resentful, absolutely. Anyone else, tiredness, a feeling of deficit or defeat, excuse me. What else comes through? Yeah. So the sadness, the loneliness, the hopelessness, anger getting stronger on the screen. So the bigger the word, the more agreement. The flight, yeah, I want to escape. I want to be away from this space. Yeah, the impatience. So a few more moments of fogginess, absolutely. We can see a connotation in these words, obviously. These aren't the feelings that we want to live in on a continual basis, but it is part of being human. There's nothing wrong with any feeling that's coming up on the screen. What I want to challenge you to do, though, is when you are navigating this emotion, to choose how you want to respond to it. For me, when I'm feeling frustrated, angry, and anxious, how do I want to respond? How do I want to feel? What is the outcome I would like to work towards? So you can utilize these things, the loneliness, the irritability, the disappointment, the retaliation, absolutely. Utilize all those natural emotions that come up as your call to action. Now, what are you called to action for? Oh, sometimes not our best choices, right? It's in that moment. It's that automatic response of like, you made me angry. I'm about to spray that anger back. I get it. Maybe that's just me, but it happens. But the reality is I can also choose to say, you know what? You're making me feel lonely, frustrated, angry, sassy, whatever it is. That means my resilience right now is being tested. I'm going to take a pause for myself. I'm going to choose to do what? A few moments ago, you told me some of the things you do. You take that place for rest. You take maybe a couple of deep breaths. Maybe you take some space to, again, persevere through it in a way that most serves you. Well, we're going to talk about some other tools and resources you can do when any of these feelings come up to visit you. Because different situations, different dynamics, relationships, they bring different emotions forward. So, taking all of these emotions and seeing in the field that we're in today, the 27 of us are here, we're all human. These are all natural, but how do we want to respond to them so that we can lean into feeling more resilient rather than feeling like I just automatically responded and now I feel even worse? So let's talk about what we can do with that today. So we have that understanding of how, again, we accept things with those emotions that come up for us. Now, how can we adapt and respond to those emotions in a way that serves us? So we're going to do this through a couple of different things today. We're going to look at locus of control, and we're going to look at a growth mindset. These are say that fast. 2 tools that can help you adapt to adversity and that sense of overwhelm when resilience is being tested. So let's dig first into locus of control. This is one of my favorites because it's something you can do live on the moment, but I'm going to take you piece by piece through it first. So locus of control is, again, your perception about those underlying causes that determine the different events and outcomes that come through in your life. So it's a lens of which you understand in the way that you feel, you make meaning out of things that happen to you. So locus of control can fall on a scale. You can have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. You'll see the 2 ends here. If you are operating from an external locus of control, then you feel that influences like luck, fate, chance, circumstances, they control what happens in your life. If you're operating from an internal locus of control, other end of the spectrum, then you feel like your work ethic, your choices, those determinations, those learnings, those are the things that impact outcomes in your life. Now, I want to give you a moment now. Page 9 of your resource guide. I want you to take that scenario you just brought up a moment ago and remembering all those emotions that you told me, thinking of this moment, how it tests your resilience, how that makes you feel. I want you to now dig into the details of it. And on page 9, you'll see this big circle. And if you don't want to use a resource guide, pen and paper works lovely too. On the top half of the circle, I want you to place everything that's inside your control, the internal locus of control piece. What is within your control in this situation? On the bottom half, I want you to place on the external side of it, everything that is outside of your control. So, upper half in your control, your attitudes, your responses, your actions, the events, the environment, right? Or maybe, well, sometimes not the environment, but sometimes it can be. Outside of my control, the weather, the way the other person responds, things of that nature, things that are outside of your control of the situation. Take a few moments here, dig into the details, and then I'll check back in with you in the polling space. A few moments here. Give you a few more moments just to identify anything within your control in the situation and anything outside of your control in the situation. Take a moment just to dig a little deeper. What can those things be? Oops. Right. As I adjust my elbow here, sorry about that. I want you now to look at this list you made in my control and outside my control. Let's take a moment to pause. And I want you to see if you can identify, where is your time, energy, bandwidth? Where is your focus going? Is it going towards things inside your control or outside of your control? As you take a moment to identify that, I want to meet you in the next poll just to see if you can see, is my lens more on that external or internal side? Where does it tend to be? And what I'm not going to tell you is one is better than the other. What I am going to tell you is that you need to do a check in to see how it's serving you and the level of resilience you want in your life. So take that in for yourself, reflect on that piece. If we're more in that external space of control, okay, I recognize that. I brought that to surface now. How is that serving me in the level of resilience I want to operate from or have in my life? For others in that internal space, great for you too. And you've brought that to surface. You have more awareness of that now. What can I do to maintain that? How do I notice this makes me feel? Giving yourself that space of awareness too, and that lived experience of it. So a gentle blend for us all. Remembering earlier in the session, the level of resilience some of us had were in the ones, some of us in the fours. This is that space to see, okay, my locus of control, where is that at? How could that maybe help me to maintain or evolve that number? So a few more moments here. It looks like we're a gentle blend across the spectrum here. Great to see. So some insight, some awareness, some clarity coming through. That's really what we hope for in these sessions. So great job there. All right. So now that we have more of the understanding of our locus of control, where that's landing, where that's coming through, I'm going to leave you with one more little piece of wisdom. This comes in Evan Nehru. The idea is very much, if it's outside of your hands, it deserves to be freed from your mind too. As best you can, let those things that you can't control go. Doesn't mean it'll happen all at once, but slowly over time, see how you can give yourself more of that mental peace or that clarity in that space of what you can and can't control. Okay. Let's move into our mindset. Let's talk about growth and fix. So, if you have a growth mindset, some of the traits you will notice is that you believe traits are developed. first trait to come up. You believe things are developed over time through practice, through again, training and learning and education. You're willing to take those risks. You also believe in mastery over time. This is something, again, giving yourself the opportunity to learn and grow. How this will support you when it comes to resilience? Well, it's the ability to set those learning goals, to keep achieving and learning things, to stepping towards things, not having to know it and do it all at one time. Also, those stretch moments, those moments where maybe you're trying something and it didn't work out so much, but you know what? I learned something from it, so I'm still moving forward. And remembering that you have choice. So, always reassessing, looking at where my energy is being invested and having that ability to choose how best to do it or maybe to pull back from it. That's all part of that growth mindset space. Now, if we're talking about growth, we also want to talk about a fixed mindset. The idea here is that traits are fixed, they're not developed. The best I can ever be, I am born to be today. I'm risk averse. I'm not taking a chance. I don't want anybody to see me fail. I don't think so. That's a fixed mindset space coming up. Also, validation focused, having that validation from the outside. That's something that gives me that space of feeling okay, rather than just like whether nobody sees me do it or not, I'm still going to try it versus needing somebody to validate me, to see me, to congratulate me. And then lastly, perfectionism. This one's sneaky. So with perfectionism, it gives us that space of control, the certain outcome or thing that we think we want to happen, the outcome we're leaning towards. But also it can constrict us. It doesn't let us broaden our mindset, welcome in other skills or possibilities. So with this, I want you to do a quick assessment here. You're going to find this on page 14 of your resource guide. I'm going to walk you through about 8 questions. And with those questions in your resource guide, you're going to scale yourself. Now, here's something just to note. The first 4 questions, the scale is 1 to 6, but 1 is disagree a lot. For the next 4 questions, the scale is still 1 to 6, but 1 becomes agree a lot. So take a few moments with these 8 questions, and then I'll meet you back and we'll look at where our scores land together. A few moments here. And again, this is in your resource guide, pages 14 and 15. A few more moments here. Okay. So as we look at our mindset here, taking a moment to add up your score, if you're in the 8 to 16 range, then you're probably leaning more towards that mindset that's more fixed. Now, again, just like with locus of mind, locus of control, it's not good or bad. It's just something you're aware of now. Taking that moment to reflect, how is this serving me? In what situations does it serve me? Giving yourself that curiosity just to notice that trait as it is now and taking some time to work with it. Also, the same if you're 41 to 48, you're more in the growth mindset space. How is that serving me? What do I notice? What are those things that I do that, again, support this or maybe diminish it? Giving yourself all that curiosity to work from here. So, as we dip into our next poll, I want to give us that space to see how we're doing with our mindset. Are we more in that growth or that fixed mindset space? Now, we're kind of splayed across when it comes to locus of control. So, our next poll, I'd love to see if we're feeling the same way when it comes to our mindset. And again, there isn't a right or wrong answer. I want to keep saying that so you don't feel you have to answer in a certain way. It really is just to say, what do I notice? What am I noticing now? We're building that awareness around our resilience so we can have it be something that's more readily available to us and commonplace. So a few moments here just to pop on the scale. Where are you at with your mindset? A few more moments here. It looks like we're leaning towards that growth mindset space. So it's great to see in some cases. And then even if we're fixed mindset, see how that's serving us. Is it serving me? In some situations, it might. In other situations, it might not. So same thing with growth mindset. Sometimes we might need to set some boundaries, be a little more fixed on things, but maybe we can lean towards more growth when it comes to those opportunities and spaces for our resilience too. All right. So gentle blend of the middle and up there. Good to see. So looking into that, taking that awareness, we're going to take it one step further. We talked about the accepting, we talked about adapting. Now we're going to bloom into moving forward. To be honest, this is the hardest one for me. I love to ruminate and chew on things. So my resilience sometimes gets taken down by that tendency. So for me, it's something I notice. I use it as a sign or trigger for myself and say, "Ooh, I'm ruminating on something, but I need to move forward through it. How can I do that?" Well, there's some verbiage we're going to lean in today to align with this, and it's called the power of yet. So I want you to think of yet as a state of mind that allows you to appreciate your capacity of learning through practice. Sometimes it's going to be a dynamic of relationships or situations or maybe policies, whatever it happens to be. We get to use this in many different ways in our life. So I want you to take the opportunity to think of a time that you were pushed outside of your comfort zone. And what was that you learned from stretching in that space? So when you're being open to new ideas, you're giving yourself that opportunity to be less critical of yourselves or others, extending again that space for you. How does that support your sense of resilience? So in your resource guide, this will be one of our last activities, not the last one, but one of the last. Page 17, take a few moments now. Identify that situation where you were pushed outside of your comfort zone. What was the learning opportunity? And what lessons are available to you now after persevering through it? I know perseverance was a strong tendency in this space. So take a moment and step into that, recollect it to support you in that concept of moving forward through something, to support you as a person in your long term well being, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So, a few moments here on page 17. Write these moments down, and then I'll meet you back in the polling space. So, thinking of the situation you've been working with throughout the session today, thinking of those different things you've brought to surface or noticed as tendencies, belief patterns, narratives, whatever they were. I want to now ask you in one of our last polls, not our last one, but one of our last polls, what do you notice? If you think about the different tools we looked at, the center of control, the locus of control, the learning opportunity, the lessons available to you, what do you think is something that can support you? What is something that comes up for you? We all have those challenging situations, those challenging dynamics, people, places, or things, whatever they are. How can you reframe this a touch more to support yourself? What would that look like? So, love to see that someone's recognizing acceptance. Yeah, I can accept what I can control and what I can't, finding that balance and blend of that in each situation that may come their way. I need to anchor myself with what makes me happy. Yeah, bringing that to surface. Maybe that's through a gratitude practice. Maybe it's just writing a list, whatever it happens to be, the way that you evoke that sense of what makes me happy. Right now, I'm feeling this other gamut of so many other emotions, but what can make me happy in this moment? Finding those emotions and leaning into that space to shift that emotional field within us, right? Positive mindset, glass half full opportunity. Yes, doesn't mean that the glass still can't be filled sometimes less or more, but we find that space of how am I going to view this moment for myself? Absolutely. Recognizing the external locus of control and thinking about what I can control. Yeah. So noticing that tendency within us. If my time and energy is only going towards things that I can't control, how is that serving me? I find that to be something, and I told you I love this because you can do it live. If I am in a moment and I notice all those emotions that we talked about earlier in the session, the anger, the resentment, the tension, the fear, the sassiness, whatever, I'll go, ooh, I'm feeling a lot of these strong emotions right now. What am I focusing on? Something inside my control or something not? And if it's not something in my control, then I can give myself some space and grace to figure out what I can do with it. I can bring my energy elsewhere. Focus on things I can control instead of what I can't. Yeah, finding that space. So I hear locus of control coming up in different ways for us today. How we'll utilize it. And that's awesome. Wonderful. All right, so let's dig into someone's leveraging. Yes, absolutely. Leveraging strengths and just doing my best. Yeah, and remembering we're always doing the best with the skills, knowledge, and life experiences we have in each moment. They keep growing, they keep evolving, they keep building on themselves. So I did my best with what I knew then, and I'm going to continue forward with more understanding and values to work with now. So wonderful to see that as something to leverage too. Okay, let's close out strong. I want to now talk about resilience at work. Y'all work together in different spaces and places. You have ease to support you absolutely when those moments of resilience are feeling tested as well. But let's dig into and see what we can do with this, maybe a touch further for ourselves. So I want you to think of a time or space for you when your resilience is tested at work. What does that look like? Giving yourself that opportunity. Where is your resilience tested? I'm going to share my screen and I just want you to list whatever comes top of mind. You have anonymity today, but be kind. Don't call people, places, or things out. Just kind of the more open level understanding, not directed at anyone or anything. But what is it at work that tests your resilience? What are those things that come up for you? Finding that here. And then I want to close after you tell me what tests your resilience at work. I want to close and see how we can try and reframe that. How can we look at it with a little bit more powered sense of resilience? But first, just let it fly. Resilience tested at work. I'll kick it off. Deadlines, ever moving deadlines. I don't love that. Test my resilience. I also don't love last minute requests, especially outside of my working hours. Don't love that. So think of the things that you like and dislike, because they can normally be the things that also signify what's testing your resilience based off of how you're perceiving them. Different personalities. Yeah, we're working with so many different personalities because we are all shaped by the different values we operate from. They impact the personalities we bring to spaces. So absolutely managing the dynamics of relationships. Uncertainty in job placement in the coming year. Yeah, some unknown can definitely be a resilience tester. Legislative changes. Yes, that's a great one to bring up because it's outside of our locus of control in some cases. So how can we again work with that to build a sense of resilience? Angry individuals, yeah, dealing with people when they're not emotionally regulated and they're bringing the heat to you in some cases through anger, testing our resilience. Imbalance of work ethics, conflicting policies, the urgent projects, last minute ones. Yeah, smile and move on, practice kindness. Okay, hold on, you're getting ahead of me, but I know where you're going, don't worry. Dealing with negative people, power dynamics, rigid rules, and flexibility, bureaucracy, absolutely. All right, so we have a pretty strong list here. I'll give you one more minute if you want to add anything else. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, look at this list. Some of these you may be able to relate to. These may be common things that test your resilience as well, or maybe not. But if they are, or they aren't, either one, I want you to now go into a space of empowering resilience. So, last question is this. We're talking about policies, personality, work ethics, projects, individuals. What is it that you can do to bring yourself more into that space of understanding when it comes to operating with a stronger sense of resilience? So, how can you approach or view that last thing you just told me of yourself or maybe someone else with a stronger sense of resilience going forward? A few moments here to indirectly support each other with that. And this is just your space to soundboard with each other as we close our session. If you're feeling resilient with how you respond to policies, if you're feeling resilient with how you respond to last minute requests, share that here, helping support somebody else to build that sense of resilience within themselves as well. How do you resiliently manage different personalities that surround you? Yeah, so seeing some great ones come through. I can't control or force anyone else, right? I can't control how they choose to behave or how they choose to respond. I'm only responsible for my choices in that space, how I respond, how I reply, how I act, how I show up myself, having that space there. Yeah, noticing at least I have a job, focusing on what is rather than maybe what I can and can't control or what might be. Wherever I land, it's not my forever. Yeah, it's just a moment in my life here. So keeping that space of ever momentum, that evolution, that change, ability to adapt there too. Try to breathe, take a step away. Remember, it is in and outside of my control. Stay grounding. Yeah, what is within my control, what's not? What is a grounding practice for me? So I'm so glad somebody brought that up. Many different ways we can ground ourselves, especially when we feel that flood of emotions come through. What will that look like or feel like? Focus on the students we serve. Yeah. So shifting your lens of focus, coming back maybe to your why or your purpose statements, whatever it is, giving you that space to lean into. Try not to take it personal. Focus on the positive. I saw this beautiful quote the other day. If I was able to not take so many things personal, my mind would have such a stronger sense of peace. But it's not wired that way. Sometimes we're very much in a space of judgment or concern or worry or whatever it is. So, how can I take things less personally and just focus again on what is, or ask for clarity? Giving yourself that grace too. How can I bring some clarity rather than making those assumptions? Focusing on the positive. Challenge is only temporary. Breathe and redirect my energy. Absolutely. Be clear about what I can or cannot help an individual with. Yeah. So it's a little bit about that clarity piece, excuse me, and setting very solid expectations. Giving that space. There's no space for belief or assumptions about things, but clear expectations can really support us in making sure that others understand us and we all have the same balance on what the outcome shall be. Yeah, not letting anger seep into the situation or take it personally. Awesome. Practice patience. Yes, change how I respond. Don't focus on the other person. Yeah, focusing in that space. So, how are we practicing patience? How are we giving us a space or bring us into a mindset where we can practice patience? What will that look like for us? So, again, practicing patience can be supported by many different things that we choose either before, during, or after when we're in those moments. But lovely to see that as an option there too. Awesome. All right. Well, you all have been so solid in this session today, bringing forth little pieces of vulnerability within you, and also giving yourself that space of clarity around a situation you're working with. So it's very much my hope that you are finding that little blend of understanding today to take with you after the session of what increased resilience can look like for you, either how you'll maintain it, how you'll evolve it, whatever it happens to be. I do want to close out and give you a couple offerings that you can find also either in an app space or a browser space, honestly, calm.com. First one here, If you have a loud inner critic, I do. So this is one of my favorite ones to work with at. But outside of just the inner critic piece, radical self compassion, Tara Brock, super amazing. Again, meditation and wisdom leader in her space gives you that space to understand what does it look like to offer myself grace in those moments when I'm feeling that I'm moving towards a fixed mindset and I have to do things perfectly, or maybe it's that the outcome didn't go as planned, or whatever it happens to be. This radical self compassion piece can really be supportive in those moments, which are just part of being human, offering yourself that space to breathe. 7 days of managing stress. As you know, stress is going nowhere. It's part of daily life now, but how we respond to it, how we perceive it can definitely be something that can support the level of resilience we have. So, a really great offering there as well. And then the relationship with self, how you view, treat, manage, invest with you into yourself impacts the level of resilience you also operate from. So, thinking of it as a form of self care. Are you giving everybody the best version of yourself, or are you giving everybody what's left over? Giving yourself that place of pause, invest into yourself, make that time, make sure you are on your to do list. Having that relationship with yourself does help you show up in the best way, not just for yourself, but others too. Okay. So we are at a time almost closed. Make sure if you want to learn more about the app, come visit us on a Monday. Michael will share the link there. There's many things in the app space. It's so robust. It can be a little overwhelming. So make sure if you want to learn more about it, we can help you out that on Mondays. And then also knowing if you do have access to the app, I know there's some sectors that do and some do not. So I'm not going to speak to it as if everybody does, but you do have the opportunity to share the app with others. Otherwise, I highly encourage you to use our calm.com space. You can share meditations just by sharing your screen, as I did the music today. So you can still use either of those spaces to support you, but just having those opportunities there. I'm going to close out with a survey. So I'm going to give you the next 2 minutes just to do our quick survey. If you're still in VBox, you'll click that caret in the upper left-hand corner and it'll bring you back to the main screen. Also, Maka's made it easier. She just shared a link to the survey in the chat space. So you can just do that survey there. It's literally 4 questions, about 10 seconds, but I do really need your feedback. I want to make sure that I'm utilizing your time well. And it's through those little surveys that we get that we know what we're doing and how we can support you. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes off screen here, and then I'm going to use our last couple of minutes to ask any questions or see how I can support the space. But 2 minutes here just for the survey. Oh no, I just realized I ran over a little bit. So apologies, I was going longer in the session than needed. So apologies to Lisa and Emily. That is totally my fault. I always try and honor time and I did not today. So calling myself out, Emily, I'm so sorry. I think you're muted, but I'm asking for grace. Hopefully I'm getting some. Apologies, everyone.
Thank you. We appreciate your passion for the topic.
Sorry.
And we still have most of our members still on.
Yeah.
And I know it's nice to take time to do the survey because we get so busy and we move on to the next thing. And a lot of times we forget to do that. So on behalf of Ease and our partnership with Calm, we do really appreciate your feedback. We're looking into planning for next year, what types of workshops and offerings we want to do. So it's really helpful to us to kind of hear what you have to say. So we appreciate your time in doing this survey. Rachel, did you have anything else you wanted to share before we close out for the day?
Oh, that was it. It's all yours. But thank you everyone for coming. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. It was a great space to be together. I always love the polls because I love to have an opportunity to write but also to see how my community feels about the same topic, and we kind of share ideas and feelings, and kind of see like we're in very similar spaces, yet we don't have as much time to talk with each other. So it's nice to see those things. Thank you for being here. We'll be offering our next workshop next month in July. Really looking forward to that. And so keep an eye out for our next flyer. Have a wonderful month. And if you need any support or have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at EASE. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel and Maka, for your support with the workshop. Take care. Have a wonderful month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Emily. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care. Bye, everyone.